All right, let's head to Spain now. Have a look at the sport newspaper. Los egos matan el éxito. That means egos kill success. That is Hansi Flick speaking after the 1-1 draw with Rayo Vallecano at the weekend. Well, Lamine Yamal had a thing or two to say after that as well. He says, look, I think it has more to do with the fact that we didn't start the season with the intensity we had at the end of the previous one than with egos in the dressing room. After a draw, you come out of it hot. In the end, you have to win. He is right that we made a lot of mistakes, but it can happen. We have to get back to our level as soon as possible. Craig, you and I did this game, followed it closely. What do you make of this little back and forth with
Hansi Flick is well known as being, and if you ask our colleague Jurgen Klinsmann, he's well known as being a very good man manager, a very good talker to the players. And managing egos. He did it at Bayern Munich. Don't forget when he went in off the back of Niko Kovac, who was a disaster and who had sort of, sent a lot of the senior players like Thomas Müller and a few more to the sidelines. Hansi Flick went in and sort of rescued that. Kind of similar with Xavi when, there was a few, Lewandowski and others were not particularly happy with Xavi. He goes in, he gets everybody on side, and I think he's just firing a warning shot across the bows here. But what we have seen, because there are some big egos and some big young egos, and Lamine Yamal is one of them, and he's turned 18 now, and he's in the spotlight, and he might be out in the town a little bit more, enjoying himself, and it's a different scenario for Hansi Flick to manage. But what we've seen in the first couple of games of the La Liga season, and we cover it every week, and Robbo does the commentary on it every week as well, and we talked last year, and Barcelona fans, they're going to hate this, but we have to talk about this high line because it gave them some sort of success last year, but at considerable risk. But the unit last year worked reasonably well as a unit. But was it because it was a good unit, or was it because opposing teams were not bright enough and clever enough to figure it out?
Listen, given Hansi Flick's success, who am I to criticize at this point? I think there are far better ways to set up a defense. That being said, and just kind of talking about Hansi Flick's statement here, when I first read this, the first thing I started to wonder was what individual or individuals was this aimed at. But the more kind of thought about it, I wonder is, to use Freg's terminology, is Hansi Flick firing a shot across the bow of the entire team. Now, you come in and you're La Liga champions, you've unseated Real Madrid, who were league and European champions the season before, and now all of a sudden, you think you've got this all figured out. And I wonder if it's Hansi Flick is saying to this team, what we did last year doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't count for anything this time around. So unless we kind of figure that out really quickly, we will lose control of our own destiny in this league. And similarly, while Lamine Yamal has become the face of Barcelona Football Club, even at 18, I thought his response was a good one, was as level-headed and as mature as you could expect. But Hansi Flick is absolutely right to be calling individuals and the team out for what has been an uncertain start. It could be a whole lot worse, I take it, but a start that could be a whole lot better from Barcelona.
Well, they got away with that Levante one. I mean, that game, Rashford started, Rafinha played inside, he hooked Rashford at half-time. Rafinha went back to the wide position. Frankie de Jong come on from Marc Casado. And they churned it out with the old tactic of, we're going to score more than you. He knows that from Newcastle, Kevin Keegan. We'll outscore you. And in some sense, that worked for them last year and was very exciting. Of course it was. But has that got longevity? Hansi Flick admitted it after the game. He went, we'll take a point. We'll take a point. What I don't understand is, last year we watched the likes of Bayern Munich, Real Madrid and others unable to figure out how to beat this offside trap properly. And it was a real head-scratcher because Barcelona fans were saying, it's such a good offside trap. It's brilliant. It's unbeatable. It is not. That's baloney. Rayo Vallecano, who have a record transfer of $8 million and pay their players a pittance of what the big stars get, understood what it took to beat this high line. It was good early balls in behind and runners from deep. But yet we witnessed Real Madrid, Kylian Mbappe, Bayern Munich in the Champions League and many others fail to understand how to beat this offside trap. And my point being is, when these big teams finally figure it out with this kind of shoddy defending, Is that going to be enough to take Barcelona to another La Liga title and to a Champions League win by saying, well, Rafinha will outscore, Lamine Yamal will outscore, and Lewandowski, even in his mid-30s, will just keep going? That is a big ask of your front line to take the pressure off a dodgy back line, which it has been for the first couple of games of this La Liga season.
Robert, you know, we've been talking about Barcelona's high line for a long time now, and we had Mario Suarez on the show, and he said the difference between last season and this season is that now people just need time. Teams just need time. Eventually, they're going to start figuring it out. And what we saw from the likes of Levante and especially Rayo Vallecano, have they just given us the perfect blueprint now to deal with Barcelona? And do you see, to Craig's point, bigger teams like a Real Madrid or a Bayern Munich, I guess, eventually employing that tactic?
Well, it's an obvious tactic they have to play, and I'm shocked that teams didn't do it last year, because Barcelona at times, you know, everything was wrong about their high line. They got away with it time and time again, and there was a millimetre offside. They'd have, the opposition would have 5 1v1s against the goalkeeper and not make them, or they'd get just that fraction offside. You have to play balls on the diagonal, you time your runs. You don't have to run before the ball's played. You can wait till the ball being played, because Barcelona aren't just allowing people to run in behind them, they're actually stepping up, so it's much easier for people to run in behind them. But I'm interested in why he mentioned egos. Is he talking about egos in the dressing room, or is he talking about egos on the field? Because if he's talking about egos on the field, it means that 1 or 2 of the players aren't doing what they're being asked to do. And maybe that's why the high line isn't working for him, because he took Kabasi and Araujo out the side at the weekend. Was that because he wasn't sure that they'd got it quite right, and their egos out on the pitch? They might have argued with 1 or 2 of the tactics. Are 1 or 2 of the other players arguing with the tactics now? Are they saying that this isn't going to work year after year? We've got to change it slightly. And that's where his argument might be with the players, rather than the ego where we think it's something that's happened off the field.
It's interesting, Robbo, after the game, Sid Lowe interviewed Frankie de Jong, and I don't know if you're aware, but VAR wasn't working during most of this game. They had a technical issue. And so Frankie de Jong said, actually, he said, that was a little bit of a problem for us, because Sid said to him, you know, how did that affect the players? And he said, Frankie de Jong, I thought it was really interesting. He said, it really started to worry us because our high line, we know we're talking about inches or millimetres.
Yeah.
And I sort of sat back and gasped and thought, wow. So when you're thinking about, we need the technology in because we're catching people off with a big toe here. And when you think about that, in the cold light of day, that is some serious risk-taking. The fact that they're thinking we need this technology because all our calls are very, very close. That's telling me that is too much risk. Now, I hear the Barca fans. We won La Liga, we won the Super Cup, we won the Cup, we did all that. I get it. The big question is, and it was fun to watch, and it was entertaining. The big question is, and we've touched on it, is what's the longevity of it when it starts to unravel, which it really didn't last year. But as Robbo said, and I said, it should have. If people had been a bit clever, a bit cuter, made better runs and timed their passes better, which isn't as difficult as people make it. Go on, Stewart.
Just a quick one, Craig. When Hansi Flick was at Bayern Munich, they played exactly the same high offside line, and it worked a treat for a year. He then became the German manager. And maybe better players, teams saw what was going on. The German team didn't work quite so hard at it because they weren't with Hansi Flick quite so often. And it was a disaster. And he didn't do particularly well there. So there's been a case where it's failed for him. It's been successful for him on more occasions than it's failed. But there was a time when it failed for him with the German national team. And he's got to be careful it doesn't fail in this second season at Barcelona.
Well, Hansi Flick now has a little bit of a breather to sort things out at Barcelona as we enter the international break. But La Liga will be back on ESPN the weekend of September 12. You see Barcelona there. They will be playing on Sunday up against Valencia, and that is going to be an enticing matchup.